Hey y'all, I'm Deborah. Welcome to my channel. I am so excited because today I have the intro for a new project. This project is called Pan Me a Story, and it is based on the Sherlock Holmes stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This year, later on the year, December, the stories will have been, the first story was published 135 years ago, and these stories really did jumpstart an entire genre of police procedurals and detective fiction. So these were very important stories to literarily. They were also published in serial form. So every story had its own release. And of the four books that were published, each chapter was a separate article in the Strand magazine. So it's very interesting, and these stories, the Sherlock Holmes stories, always, especially, well, some of them really do have become part of our canon of short stories. So I'm going to, what we're doing is, this is a project through the Fantastic Ladies Collab Facebook group, and you can log on, you can join the group. We are a community where we encourage each other with different panning projects and really just try to encourage each other in our journeys to be responsible and to use the products in our collections. So to start, there is a spreadsheet that you can get to through Fantastic Ladies, and I will link it down below, where you can sign up. You can just look at the prompts. And of the 54 stories, there is a prompt for every story. That's just a suggestion. If I would also encourage you to, if you read a story and you see a different prompt, or a different product that you think would fill that story, go ahead and put it in, because this is about celebrating the stories themselves. All right, so let's get into this. I'm so excited. This is so much fun. Y'all know how much I love stories. So the first story I'm going to bring in is actually the first Holmes story. This was called A Study in Scarlet. It was the first story in the first book. It was actually a novel that was serialized. And in this story, this is where Dr. Watson meets Sherlock Holmes for the first time. Dr. Watson is a young army doctor who is wounded and has been sent back to England from Afghanistan to recover. And he was given his army pension for 9 months to figure out what to do with himself. So he needs a place to live, and someone suggests that he, hi Obi, yeah, there's a cat down here. There is someone has suggested that he meet Sherlock Holmes, and because Sherlock was looking for someone to share a flat. So this is the first time we find out that we get that famous address, 221B Baker Street, and meet the housekeeper and kind of find out about Sherlock Holmes and his special abilities, his special observational skills. So the first book was called A Study in Scarlet, and of course there's a murder involved. There are several murders involved. There is an American man who is found murdered, and through a great series of events we find out that he was murdered over a woman. He had been assigned to marry a woman. She was in love with someone else. Someone else was in love with her. He came back to find her married, and she died a month later. And there was just a lot of hurt feelings. And so the jilted lover murders the husband, follows him to London and murders him. So for A Study in Scarlet, I am bringing in something that is scarlet. This is a lip liner. Y'all know how much I love my reds. This is a lip liner from NYX. It is in the shade Ruby, which is really odd because it's not Ruby, it's Scarlet. It is a warmer red. It is not a cooler red. Ruby tends to be a cooler shade. I'm wearing it under the lipstick that I've chosen for today. And my goal is to finish this. It is pretty soft, pretty creamy soft, so I think this will go faster than some of my other lip liners that are more firm and waxy. So let's put that in the lipstick drawer right there. The next story is called The Valley of Fear. And in this story, there is a secret code involved in finding the clues for this story. And one of the kind of clue that it is, it's called a book cipher. And what it is, it's a series of numbers that correspond to the page number, the paragraph number or line number, and the word on that line. And so from this, what has to happen is people have to have the same book, so that the words line up. Has to be the same edition, the same copy, the same identical book. And it may be something that a lot of people have, so that easy access to it. So I am bringing in something that a lot of people have or have had. And I am bringing in the ABH Norvina palette, because while this is, it's a beautiful palette. It is just beautiful, but it is a little difficult. Wrong way. A little difficult to use sometimes because we do have these beautiful colors, but it's kind of hard to just get looks out of this palette. When I'm using this palette, I find I have to pull another palette as well to make it work. Although today I made it work. So my goal for this palette is 10 uses and no pan left behind. I'm trying to no pan left behind all my collection this year, which won't be that hard because my collection of palettes is not that big. And I've committed to not bringing any palettes in to my collection until I have used all of the palettes that I have, until I truly have no pan left behind in my collection. Then I can bring something in. So that's going to go live over there in the eyeshadow palettes in progress drawer. And that is 2 products. All right, one of the other most famous stories is called The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle. And in this story, there is a jewel that has been stolen. It's called the Blue Carbuncle, which is really funny because carbuncles are not blue, which maybe that's why it, carbuncle is another name for a garnet, which is a deep brownish red shade. It's a garnet, a type of garnet, which garnets can be kind of red or green, but they're not usually blue. Blue would be extraordinarily rare for a garnet. So very large blue carbuncle has been stolen. And a man comes to Sherlock Holmes in the evening, in the night, with this blue carbuncle and says, and a goose, because it's Christmas time. And he says, I found this in the goose's throat. So through a series of events, investigation, Mr. Holmes finds the original thief who had been arrested. They arrested the wrong person to start with, as Lestrade is wont to do. And Sherlock Holmes finds the true perpetrator, and all is right with the world. So what I'm rolling in for the blue gemstone, the blue carbuncle, is an eyeliner. And it is from Too Faced. It is the Killer Liner series in the shade Killer Sapphire, so another blue stone. I love this shade. It is a kind of midnight blue. It's a very dark blue. It's creamy. It stays, has good staying power. I would definitely repurchase this. My favorite eyeliners are the Urban Decay 24/7 eyeliners, and this is on par with those eyeliners that I deeply love. So that is going in the eyeliner drawer. All right, so the next story is The Adventure of Silver Blaze, and Silver Blaze is a horse story. A horse is stolen, a man is found dead on the moors, and Sherlock Holmes has been called in to, one, find this racehorse that is supposed to win a race and is now missing, and to solve the murder of the trainer. And once again, they arrest the wrong guy, and Sherlock Holmes says, it is the wrong guy. So he goes out to the moors and looks at the clues around the body, and the trainer had some very odd things in his pockets. So comes down to the end of it, the stable next door, who had competing horses, they actually found the horse wandering around on the moors and thought, this is our opportunity to win the race with our own horse. So they took the horse that was wandering down to their stables, put some tar on his face because he had this very distinct white blaze down the front of his face, so that they could conceal him. So you know where this is going. They were not responsible for killing the trainer. It turns out that the trainer had actually been paid, or had a large bet against his own horse, and so he was actually on the moor with the horse to try to make the horse go lame, so the horse would not be able to race, or would not win the race. And in his trying to harm the horse kicked him in the head, and so the horse was really the murderer. But if somebody was trying to stab me in the back of the leg, I might kick him in the head too. So what I'm bringing in for the Adventure of Silver Blaze is a concealer. This is from LYS. I love this brand. They are really, I really like their products. Their price point is very nice. This is the Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer. The hitch is, this is not full coverage in any way, but it is perfect light to medium coverage for summertime use and for no makeup days. So I have a different concealer that I use when I want fuller coverage. This one is just perfect. I'm wearing it today, so it does cover a good portion of my dark circles because I have really dark circles. But I am bringing this in for 50 uses or finish, whichever comes first. But I really do love, I have been really impressed with this brand. Everything I've gotten from them, I have loved. So this is going in the daily makeup use box. Okay, so I actually have 3 more stories. And the next product actually kind of goes with the concealer. The next story is Adventure of the Resident Patient. And in this story, there is, yes, a murder. Imagine. But a young man who is a physician comes to Sherlock Holmes saying there is something weird going on in my house. So he was a young doctor with not really able to set up an elite practice to make more money. He was kind of a researcher, and he was a neurologist. And he was approached by an older man who offered to set him up in practice in a posh section of London. He would pay for the house, the housekeepers, the staff. Um, all he asked was that 3/4 of the proceeds that he got them. And our the young doctor thought that was a pretty good deal because he was getting free room and board and being able to build his practice. And the only other hitch was that he was the personal physician for this older gentleman. Through a series of events, the older gentleman ends up murdered. And it turns out that the older gentleman was a bank robber, and that's how he got his money. He had been released from jail, had gotten the money, unburied the money, but now his fellow bank robbers were now also out of jail, and they wanted their share. So this, I am bringing in a product under the prompt of it costs more than it's worth, because this was certainly a cost to the young man. So I'm bringing in something costs more than it's worth, and for me, anything with Charlotte Tilbury's name is overpriced, and so I am bringing in the Light Wonder foundation. It is, I've just marked it right here. It actually settles really, it settles out in no time. And I've just been playing with it, and I put it on this morning. But it is down to here, and my goal is to finish. It is not a favorite of mine by any means, but it cost a lot, and doggone it, I'm going to use it. I tend to use lighter products in the summer. One of the things I'm not real crazy about this is it is very radiant. I'm so shiny, I can't stand it today. But and it stays a little bit sticky, a little bit tacky. If I powder it down, it's a bad idea. So I really would like to get this out of my collection. I had this in a project last year and was able to get 25 uses and actually get down to about here. So I'm hopeful that I can finish this by the end of the summer. We'll see. But this is my let's get this out. Costs more than it's worth. All right, put that over there in my daily makeup box that's getting a little full. There we go. All right, so the next to the last story is the story of the Redheaded League. So in this story, a gentleman with absolutely gorgeous red hair, a ginger, comes to Mr. Holmes with a curious situation. He found a job. Someone suggested it to him, a gentleman who worked in his shop. Suggested to him that saw in the paper that that someone was looking for men with bright red hair, and this was a distinguishing characteristic for this gentleman, for a job with very little work, but there was a stipend that went with it. So he went down to apply for the job, and he had the most glorious red hair that they sent everybody else home, and he was given the job. And the job was, for 4 hours a day, he would copy out of the Encyclopedia Britannica. But he could not leave, or he would forfeit his stipend. So that went on for a while, and he was collecting his stipend and going and writing out the Encyclopedia Britannica. And then one day he went, and the place was just closed, and it said, "The Redheaded League is disbanded." No warning, no explanation. So he had gone to Mr. Holmes to see if Sherlock could find out what happened, and so of course, in the end, he did, and that's a story you need to read. It's very interesting. No, I'll go ahead and tell you. It turns out that the guy that worked at Mr. Wilson's shop and was keeping the shop for him while he went to his Redheaded League gig was actually, he and his buds were digging a hole in the cellar. They were digging a tunnel under the street to the bank across the street. So it was all a ruse in order to commit a bank heist, a bank job. Of course, Mr. Holmes figured it out before it happened, and they were able to save the bank and catch the bad guys. Anyway, I'm bringing in a product that isn't necessarily with the prompt, because the prompt I think I had generated was a hair product, because it is about hair. But I had this other thing in my collection that I thought was just too perfect, because this story was about Mr. Jabez Wilson and his weird job. So I am bringing in a lip gloss from Stila. It is one of the Beauty Boss lip glosses, but the shade is called Payday. So I'm bringing this one in. It is a bright pink lip gloss. Bright pink. But it does sheer out a little bit and turns into this happy summer pink. So my goal is I'm bringing this in to finish. So that is for Redheaded League. Okay, the last product that I'm bringing in is for the adventure of the Crooked Man. And in this story, there is a murder, imagine, and the wife is under suspicion. It's kind of a locked room story, a locked room murder. How can anybody get in? And it turns out that this gentleman had been a captain of a regiment in India, because this is Victorian England. And he had been in a regiment that was basically retreating. And in the process, they left one of their soldiers behind who was captured and tortured. And basically, they left him for dead. And they had, did not think the least bit about him. So for this story, I am bringing in something that in my collection that has been forgotten. And this product has not just been forgotten, it's been forgotten multiple times. This is from Earth Therapeutics. It has a long name. Earth Therapeutics Pro Organic Tea Tree Oil Foot Repair Balm, enriched with certified organic botanicals. It's a foot lotion. And I like it. It's very nice. Has a nice minty smell. But I keep forgetting it's there. I keep using other things, and I really need to get this out. I've had it for quite a while. It's not gone off. It settles very nicely in this container, and it is down to about here. My goal is to finish. So that is the last of the Sherlock Holmes stories and products. My plan is to roll in one story a month, even if I don't finish. Even if I can't eliminate any of the products that I've got, I'm still going to tell another story. So that's it. I hope that you will consider joining this story or joining this project. It's one that I think I am going to enjoy immensely. And come back, listen to the stories. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hit the thumbs up. All right, guys, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.